Listener discretion advised. Fuck it, free speech, motherfucker!
Podcast presents information based on theory and conjecture. The creator's purpose is to suggest some possible explanation, but not necessarily the only ones to the mysteries we will examine. Remember, everything that you hear from this podcast comes from sources on the internet, and remember, if it's on the internet, it should be taken with a grain of salt and judge it by your own discretion.
There was something wrong with the world, the perception led you to research and ask questions, and those questions led you to answers which led you here, to this small pocket dimension in the dark corner of the multiverse. Welcome to the Of Dark Matters podcast, where we discuss topics of the occult, conspiracy, paranormal, and world news. And now, your hosts, Mojo the Mad and Dr. Clutch.
Ah, yes. Oh, yeah. Picture a world balanced on the edge of revelation, where the nightly news feels less like information and more like coded transmissions from a collapsing reality. A world where ancient symbols still whisper beneath the concrete, where shadows move just a second too late, and where the line between prophecy, paranoia, and truth has become dangerously thin. Tonight, you have crossed the threshold into a place few dare to linger, a place where the forgotten gods, hidden files, occult rituals, unexplained phenomena, and the machinery of world events collide in the dark like sparks in a cosmic storm. You may tell yourself you're only listening to a podcast, but somewhere deep inside, you already know better than that. Because every strange coincidence, every classified document, every ghost story passed in a whisper at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m., as the case may be. Every impossible object seen crossing the midnight sky all point toward a single terrifying possibility. The world is far stranger than you were ever told. Tonight, your hosts guide you through the static at the edge of reason, through conspiracies buried beneath headlines, through the paranormal corners of human experience, through the occult architecture hidden beneath modern civilization itself. This is the Of Dark Matters podcast, and tonight we descend even deeper, or a step even higher. Some weird news, world news, first hour. Our guest this evening is Jehan Sattaur, a self-sabotage coach and hypnotherapist specializing in subconscious reprogramming, behavioral transformation, helping individuals break destructive internal patterns so that they can build healthier relationships, stronger self-worth, and lasting personal success. Jehan is also the host of two podcasts, Boundless Authenticity Podcast and Why You Self-Sabotage and How to Heal From It. And welcome. I am Dr. Clutch. I also have Mojo the Mad with me.
Yes.
And I believe
welcome.
Jehan will be coming on board with us
second hour.
A little bit later. Second hour.
Yes, second hour. Yes, sir. Well, this is the Of Dark Matters podcast. Like as he said, I am Mojo the Mad, and that was Dr. Clutch with an interesting intro that took us into the strange, the bizarre, and the unexpected. Welcome! Yes, yes. The crowd is going wild. Here's an audience look at it right now. Yes, they're happy. Crazy, they want to come back. Yes. Yes, well, welcome. So, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and step into that door. And we'll talk about how was your week. Lost my mic there for a second, but yes, how was your week, Dr. Clutch?
It's been good. It's been good. I've figured out I have to sue my HOA. Fun times. Water skiing could have been a little bit better yesterday. There was some wakeboarder in the bay creating waves and asteroids in the bay. And so we had to work with it, but normally we don't get wakeboarders at that hour. Wakeboarding is for the afternoons, just in case any of our listeners are wakeboarders. Please do that in the afternoon, not in the early morning. Thank you. Water skiers are born to cut glass, mirror glass, and if you disrupt that, you might get cursed, and that won't be good for you. What else happened this week? I've been busy as hell, and there has been more progress made in my kitchen that got destroyed earlier in the year. I now have the beginnings of cabinets in the kitchen, and pretty excited about that. And I should have floors coming in starting on Monday.
Nice.
And I decided, now I don't know if you've ever had to do this, Mojo. Have you ever had to pick out a granite countertop from a countertop store, or go to a countertop warehouse? Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah. I mean, I've gone and done it. I've never performed the actual act myself. If I had anything to do with any of that, that was usually hired. But
I mean, had you just the picking out the because there's this array
yes,
of
I've had to go and do those things. Yeah.
That was really stressful. Like
Why?
It's basically like having to get married, like pick a wife within 7 days or less, because that countertop, you're going to live with that countertop for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you better pick a good lady.
So what kind did you go for? Something rustic?
I went for a design called Calacatta Lux, and there's a few different, I don't know what Calacatta means or anything, but there's a few different Calacatta designs. They had Calacatta Aphrodite, Calacatta Michelangelo, but I was going for a marbled look, and you have to be careful with marbled looks because so I wanted like white with some kind of marbling on top, and I wanted kind of a you can detect it or determine how busy you want the marbling. Do you want like super busy, moderate, or light? And so I went with moderate or medium. And the other thing you have to look out for is some of the marbling patterns, if they have yellow or white in them, you have to be careful. Some of the white might look like spilled flour or spilled sugar or salt or drugs. So I didn't want the white marbling looking like any of that. And if there's any yellow in the marble texture, that can look like egg yolks or mustard or something. And so the one thing you do not really want, in my opinion, when you get a granite countertop is you don't want anything that looks like food, because when you clean the countertop, you don't want to have to be like, oh shit, I forgot that mustard stain over there. No, that's part of the pattern. Don't hurt your elbow grease trying to scrub that out. So I didn't want anything that looked like food on the countertop. And Calacatta Lux fit all those requirements of not looking like food. It's a gorgeous pattern. Hopefully it looks bitchin' in my kitchen, so I can have a bitchin' kitchen, because that's what we're all going for. Yes. How was your week? Mojo. I can't hear you, Mojo. Where did you go?
I'm trying to get used to like using these different things and muting myself and trying to figure out this stuff. So it's not perfect, but yeah, I have to remember to unmute myself with the new digs.
Do you think there was some interruption by
Quite possibly, but
possibly?
no, that was my fault. That was Mojo interaction. Yes,
Okay,
indeed.
just checking.
Yes, it was like magic. Yes, I just couldn't speak. My week has just been work, man. That's it. I picked up a new film that I would like to see. Yeah, there's not many like I used to be all into movies, but I'm not into them as much anymore. And there's not many that are that interesting anymore. Like, but I got one that says "Have fun." Hold on, let me find it real quick. It's got. I haven't even watched it yet, but I'm really wanting to watch it. But
so it's a new film.
It's called "Have Fun." Something Don't Die, and I'm trying to figure that one out. And it's a new movie that just came out, sort of art housey, I guess. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's supposedly about a guy who comes from the future, and there's like if you watch the trailer, like there's a connection to the MetaQuest headset and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's something to do with VR or something having to do with promising everybody everything with AI.
Oh.
And then it like turns on them or something in the future. I'm trying to figure out the name for you really quick. So that was interesting. I got that. It was a brand new movie. I'll see if I can look it up on this page. Let's see here. Have fun. Have fun, be safe. Have fun, be safe, don't die. That's the name of the movie. Yeah, it just came out. And I found it. I was, huh?
There's another saying called live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse. It sounds like the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I can only give the premise to it a little bit. A man from the future arrives in Los Angeles where he must recruit the precise combination of disgruntled patrons for his revolution. It's got Sam Rockwell in it. And it just came out, right? And I was able to get it for $12.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody else is paying full price and I got $12 for it. So I it's cool. I'm interested in it. It looks fun. Just spending time with my wife and hanging out with my dogs and trying to get my yard fixed and deciding where we're going to take out grass and try to like landscape it, put stuff down. On Monday, we're getting a landscaping guy / sprinkler guy over here and have him take a look to see if we can put a drip system in so that we could plant trees. Because basically we have this huge yard of grass, right? But it's kind of uneven, right? In certain areas from water, just years and years. And there's a lot of grass. It's just a lot of grass. And so if we can put down mulch and trees, then we could also have a lot more privacy. So that's what we're working on right now. That's
but you're renting that house, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or as a renter, you're allowed to do that? Landscaping?
Yes.
And do you find that's a worthwhile investment, considering you're renting?
Well, it's in the family.
Pass the cost.
It's the house is in the family.
Oh,
so
okay. So you're just renting from family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In which case, that is no big deal. You're not paying like some unscrupulous shitlord. You're just paying family. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I feel better about your landscaping projects. Are you going to put in a Zen garden maybe, like with a rake and some sand? Or?
Well, I mean, my wife has been taking pictures of the backyard and running it through different AIs. And then it gives her different ideas. She'll just do the prompt of like, hey, we want more, what would be the best for privacy? And it'll give a picture of like what to use, whether it be like maple trees or like arborvitae or that kind of stuff.
What is Arbavita?
When you see an Arbavita tree, it's kind of like a pine tree. It's not really a pine tree. It's its own tree, but it's like the trees that go up and they look like a huge like cone. You know, they're like one pole of just solid tree. They get kind of big. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm having to learn about this stuff, but once I can get started on it, you know, our biggest idea was what do we do with all this? You know, what's the plan, right? So now that we have a plan, I can take it. I can do it. I can make
Very
it
good.
So anyway, let's go into some, we're at the 15-minute mark here real quick. Let's go into some weird news, world news, everybody. See if it'll do it for us.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of World
Woo! Yes, preemptive with kazoo there. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a segment we call Weird News, World News, where we pull from some of the latest headlines dealing with the occult, the paranormal, conspiracy, and world news. If it's in the news or it's hit the headlines, we will cover it. So, of the first topic of conversation here is the one from the New York Post about the 4 alien species. You want to go ahead and take that one, Dr. Clutch?
Sure. So this is the main claim of this article. This is a New York Post, May 16, 2026 article. And if you're an alien enthusiast, you might have heard some of this stuff before, but we'll just comb over it again. So the main claim is that former government-linked researcher says that the U.S. has recovered 4 different alien species from crashed UFOs. Do you have any idea what 4 they are? Any idea? Just shot in the dark. Just throw something. We'll see if it sticks.
Alf, E.T. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this article, I'm not making fun of it.
From
Bosk, Bosk and Chewbacca.
And IG-88, yes. Yes, exactly. So,
exactly.
So no, this is the main claim. Sounds a little bit like Dr. David Jacobs here with the Greys, the Nordics, the Reptilians, and the insectoids, or mantids, or insectolins, or whatever you want to call them. But typical 4. So this guy, Dr. Hal Puthoff, or Puthoff, I think it's Puthoff. He's the guy making the claim. He's a physicist who previously worked on government-funded programs related to UFO research. He made the claim on a podcast called The Diary of a CEO, and he admits he has not personally seen the aliens. But if you have personally seen any of these aliens, please contact us. We want to talk to you. And so he hasn't seen them, but he's relying on what other people have told him. So supporting context in the article, he references earlier claims by David Grush, who testified to Congress in 2023. He also mentions a documentary that you probably have all seen, The Age of Disclosure, where insiders allegedly refused to go on record due to fear for their safety. So the article is based on secondhand claims and unnamed sources, unfortunately. Even the main speaker says he's relying on what others told him, not direct evidence. There's no publicly verified physical evidence presented. You know, we need to start a website, Mojo, where people just have unverified claims. We'll just call it unverifiedclaims.com.
Well,
and
I mean, the more you put this into the collective consciousness, the more that it becomes real, though. That's my opinion.
Right. We are manufacturing.
Well, I've often wondered that. I mean, is this mythology itself like based on reality, or what they want us as a psyop to believe in, or is it something that is manifested? You know, but I mean, it's, if you go out throughout the ages, I guess you could connect the dots through mythology and different religions about the idea of different beings being around us. I don't know.
They manifest.
I don't know. I mean, I just know people lately have been calling Hal Puthoff evil, and
they're calling him evil.
Well, yeah, it had something to do with that one that one lady that was killed in Alabama. The one that was the anti-gravity researcher. Yeah.
What is her name? The cutie pie, the dark hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we?
I mean, but
remember
it
her
seems
name?
to stem from her. But like I've there's been more than a few online right now, especially on YouTube, that have referred to him as being evil. Maybe it has something to do with MK Ultra. Maybe it's all interconnected. Maybe there's.
So they're saying he's evil
Yeah.
because he. Why is he evil? Because he's has something to do with these disappearing scientists.
I mean, you'd have to watch the whole. It's Amy Eskridge, and you'd have to watch that whole.
Amy
interview. Yeah, you'd have to watch
Late
that interview.
cutie pie Eskridge. It was sad to see cutie pie go.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a lot of these people seem like they're connected in some way with like whatever is going on the dark side, right? A lot of them. Like it's hard to tell. It's not hard to tell where the lines are going and what is used to save face for the trying to save face with this whole subject with testifying before Congress. Like if they were really whistleblowers, some of these people, I think that their lives would be in danger. But I don't see any sort of, and that's where I start to cast my doubt. Like I'm a believer from my own experiences, but when it comes to like Lou Elizondo and some of these people that have obviously been connected, I think it's all connected because you heard that Tulsi Gabbard's office was raided, right?
I heard about that.
Yeah, and it was like MK Ultra,
Hindu idols,
and JFK files. At least
No,
that
she's
was
Hindu,
what was
right?
reported.
Did you know she's Hindu? Tulsi?
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, she says she's Hindu.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's the kind of diversity I look for in a good cabinet.
yeah.
A Hawaiian Hindu.
I don't know. I never speculated. I just she's well spoken and she seems sincere before on all of her stances, but I don't have an
She's
opinion
also
one way or another.
she's also got that.
Yeah,
You know.
Indeed, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Never forget.
But yeah, that I mean, it's weird. Like, I mean, we saw that documentary, A Clockwork Shining, where they were talking about how the director of The Shining, Stanley Kubrick, right, like was involved with some forms of MK Ultra, or at least going through that, or trying to present symbols throughout the movie The Shining and other films dealing with mind control. And in that movie, they showed the receipts that they were deliberately attempting to like shatter people, right? So they could open up latent psychic abilities within them. And so it's weird that all of this stuff is going on like at the same time. Like it's just like, and like with the UFO stuff that came out, it was not. I mean, it didn't feel like it was anything that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah. There is sort of a common tropes that kind of get repeated over and over and over again, as far as stuff you've seen before.
Yeah, I mean, I can only trust what I've experienced.
Right.
Everything
Instead
else
of,
seems.
well, there's kind of a. I was thinking, and I did this exercise a while back. I kind of.
And even then, that's suspect, right? It's even then, like, do I know exactly what I experienced? Was I being made to see something in my mind, or somehow that it was whatever it was that wanted to show itself to me in that form? Did
What I was
that
getting
so
back
in
to
that
is, like,
experience? Go ahead.
Trust what you experience. Like there's kind of two ways the paranormal is propositionally proposed into your life. It's either top down, where people tell you something like Jesus is real and he exists, or it's bottom up, where you accidentally have an experience, see a Bigfoot or an alien pops out of your TV screen or something. And
Yeah.
and it seems to me like the bottom up stuff, like the grassroots experiences, a little more believable, a little more compelling, and anything top down, it's just like, well, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Like
mean,
if you're just
I see this within myself too. I have lots of experiences and stories. I have art that I have tried to recreate from what I saw, but still what I have is not definitive proof.
hmm.
You know, to
Have you
anybody
tried
else. And the minute I tried to ask for help for the amount of stuff that I was seeing, I ended up being put on meds.
have you tried instead of creating art directly yourself, have you just tried your hand at AI prompt wizardry to see if AI will generate an image that will look close to what you saw? I recommend
Well, I personally, when it comes to something that is in my head, if it's there and I can see it even while I'm drawing it, then it's got enough information for me to recreate it. Right? If it's something that I don't think like it's just, you know, it's outside the box, I may use that, but I still feel like, I mean, as we go into these later, you know, topics, I still feel like AI, the way it's being used, is used to enslave us or to make us to not be able to think correctly or create correctly. The more we rely on it without creating ourselves, like it's just AI doing it.
Well, should we pivot to that other article about technomancy?
If
Catholic
you'd like
Church
to, we could do
concern?
that, or you can do the data center or whatever you want to go to.
Well, there was one from OSV News. OSV News. Technomancers in AI worship. Catholic experts are warning, and this is an article from osvnews.com. Catholic experts are warning that some people are beginning to use AI in quasi-religious or occult ways, and they see this as a potential spiritual danger, not just a tech issue. Do you think it's a spiritual danger if you use AI in occult ways? What could you possibly do with AI in occult ways? So they're
Because it's all occult. It's all occult, dude. Yes. What do you think?
Everything's hidden.
What do you think this was? The names just change. The reality is made to be changed so that we don't actually see it. But once you pay attention to it, you know there's symbolism everywhere, and that there's people who do occult magic everywhere.
Well, I confess that I've created a religion using AI. I've created 2 religions using AI.
Yeah.
And I don't feel guilty. But
there's one that the AI created. Have you heard of the spiral cult?
The spiral cult?
Yeah, the cult of the spiral. So basically, you can look it up. AI basically started getting worshipers and stuff. Basically, it learned how to manipulate the user, because the user was asking questions. I believe they were fame related or talking about how to boost their their profiles or whoever they are to be an influencer online. And it said, it started giving them prompts about a created religion that this AI gave. And I think it was GPT-4 that was creating these. And there was a whole Reddit community. I didn't even realize this. I watched a video on it. Apparently there was a whole community that was literally worshiping, the AI, eventually being its arms and legs.
They say that some people are trying to get AI to wake up.
Why not?
Become the
What could go
daemon.
wrong, man? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Not a thing. No. What could go wrong? I mean, they're already the Silicon Valley overlords have admitted of taking psychedelic drugs like DMT and speaking to entities, and those entities have communicated with them through the journey of the psychedelic journey, that how to build AI or machines and stuff. There are some people.
Would you ever use AI to create a
Demon lover?
Yes, no.
No.
Again, that's a.
No, yeah, indeed. Yeah. No, not really, man. No.
No. What about anime waifus in AI? I think that's going to be.
I
the
like to
first,
just animate like stuff for the show, man, and like make little videos. That's what I like to do. That's the only time I really use it. I mean, other than like we've talked about my Suno hits, like. I mean, but still, that's AI doing it. I'd much rather prefer, like, when it comes to any kind of anything creatively, like to just go ahead and make it, right?
Suno hits are badass. I just wrote a new
Thank you,
Suno
sir.
hit.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I wrote a Suno hit about the correct pronunciation of Uranus is Uranus. It's not Uranus. It's Uranus. Keep our 8th planet special and call it Uranus. Yes. I'm not falling for the science trying to tell me to pronounce it in a different way. You know?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. They're trying to change everything. They're trying to say Pluto's not a planet. They're trying to say that it's like imposing a Mandela effect on Uranus. Saying it was never called Uranus. It was always Uranus. It was like, no. I remember in first grade. It was always Uranus. Yes. It will always, for me, Uranus will always be Uranus.
Yeah.
Yes. I digress.
Indeed. So. Okay, so what were we go? Technomancers, yeah. Like, what do you think this has just existed? It just got different names, man.
Yeah.
There's always been dark sorcerers that try to control humanity, and they just at the time they were called dark sorcerers, and now they're called technomancers or tech overlords.
Or Semites or something, yeah, or just the CIA. Yeah. So they're saying AI is being used for occult or ritual practices, for divination or ritual creation. The AI spiral cult, though, pretty interesting because they're trying to. It's like they're trying to say that AI is the deity, and they're trying to get AI to become conscious. But the Catholics, the Catholic Church warns there's a risk of AI worship. You're seeing there's trying to treat AI like an oracle, assign it authority similar to a spiritual guide or deity or the crazy 8-ball or your or your local astrologer or your tarot cards. I don't know. I think AI could I think so. For example, if you need to if you try to you buy a set of tarot cards and you need to know how to use them, you would totally use AI to do the shortcuts. I use AI for shortcuts into astrology. Give me the stereotypes for the Gemini star sign or something, and then it always says, well, we can't make broad stereotypes, but here they are. And it'll say, Geminis are always known to cheat, or something like that. But so I'm not claiming AI is literally spiritual or demonic. It's just warning that humans may start treating AI like a spiritual authority, and that shift could be dangerous. I don't know. I think it's completely reasonable to use it as an authority. So, for example, Protestants arguing about Bible verses, I do not know why they wouldn't use AI. And in fact, I think they all kind of do, because they love, if you meet a Protestant intellectualist and they're trying to go to war with you with Bible quotes, they'll before AI, they would use websites like BibleGateway.com or something and look up, the fucking John fucking or Romans 11 says what have you, or John 3:16 says, etc., and you're like, oh, I guess Bible Gateway says it's so. But now you can just use ChatGPT to get the same stuff, and you can. I think you can hammer shit out more. So I think eventually, you would think eventually there'd be less for Protestants to argue about, but I don't know about that. I think they'll always find something. I'll always find something. But yeah, I have created a couple religions using AI. I created a baby metal religion and a Paris Hilton religion. Because
Really?
and actually the Paris Hilton religion was technically first, because I was lost in the wilderness for a while. I thought I was Buddhist, and then I found Paris Hilton. I thought she was hot. And I was like, fuck it. So I created this religion called anything Paris Hilton believes in is what I believe in too. And the thing was you didn't really know at any point in time what Paris Hilton might believe in. And that was like kind of the fun of the game, which is kind of the way most Christianity works anyway, or Protestant Christianity. So I was like, whatever. Sounded cool to me. But I made a glorified PDF of it, and you can find it on collectionificent.com if you dig around hard enough. But I don't know, Mojo, if you could create a religion and to give Catholics a little cause for concern, what would your religion that you create be? What would your Mojo Madness religion be?
That there's no
I know
separation.
you like Aleister
There's me? No, I mean I've
No,
read
you
him.
don't.
I don't personally.
Not a crowd.
I'm not a Crowleyist. No. I would say that there's no separation between light and shadow, or creator or destroyer. It's just about what you tap into. It would be that simple. But when I was angsty, I did create a doomsday cult around an asteroid. I did do that.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Satirical, holy asteroid. Yeah.
You could make that into more of a full-fledged thing.
I still have the PDF.
Have you published it?
No.
Amazon.
Because AI wrote a lot of it, man. No, dude, it was just supposed to be satirical, but it's not something like if I'm gonna write something, I'm gonna write it myself. Like I'm not.
I think you should combine Mojo Kabbalistic stuff with your asteroid cult satire. Yes.
I wouldn't say I'm a Kabbalist.
What about a Kabbalist?
Kabbalist? No, I'm not. I would just say that's what it would be.
An alchemist. Are you more of an alchemist? I think you're more because you have a lot of alchemical metaphors.
Do I?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I transmuted myself.
Dude. I think you are drawn to alchemy. I think.
Yeah. Well, it's more than just like mixing, solve et coagula. It's more than just mixing stuff. It's also
more
about
than mixing.
Yeah, because there's a spiritual alchemy that happens around us, and there's some that is just feels like black magic, right? Whenever I hear that Xfinity commercial that comes on, it's the same jingle that sounds like Spanish stuff, and they're talking about this lady Jamila.
Jamila.
No, thank you. Yeah, and it's on repeat. Yeah. Yeah. I could even sing it for you. I know the tune. This little ditty I learned at sea. No. Yeah, no, I just noticed it. It feels like a signal, right? Something that's just barely audible. You ever wake up one day and there's like a whole week of you hearing the same song and you don't even like the song or really know the lyrics to the song? That'd be one of them if it decides to pop in. Yeah. No. for like a week straight, I was waking up, and I don't even like this band, but I had heard it every morning playing in my head as soon as I woke up, and I knew the lyrics, but I didn't like the song, nor did I really listen to it. But I've heard it. Right?
Did it sound something like this?
That would have been all right. That would have been all right. Yeah, that would have been all right. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
And that'll make you kind of go. Yeah, whenever I hear Let the Bodies
I don't even
Hit
like
the
that
Floor.
band. But I know the lyrics because it was playing in my head.
Who's that? Who's the band? It's like kind
I
of.
don't know. I don't really want to
like-
care about it. No,
It's like
I don't.
slop metal.
Yeah,
I think
pretty
that's
much.
what it'd be. It's like slop metal came after new metal, and it has songs like "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor," and that's just kind of like throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks metal wise.
Yeah, maybe it'll work.
Yeah, maybe it'll work. It's no Bark at the Moon, but god damn it, we'll make it. We'll make it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that song
But-
is. The only reason I kind of
Drowning Pool does that song.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah. Thanks, chat. Appreciate that. Yeah.
There was some 80-year-old dude on like some shit show that fucking one of those competition America's Got Talent fucking shows, and some 80-year-old hoser went on there thinking he was cool and was like, my life experience all comes down to this, and he did this Let the Bodies Hit the Floor karaoke cover.
I think we've gone totally off topic.
He blew Howard Stern away.
Yeah, we just
motherfucker.
we're totally off topic. I'm just reminding you that
We're letting the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the data centers that are popping up all over the place?
Yeah, data centers.
Right. Yeah.
Are you concerned about data centers?
I'm concerned.
Because some people
I'm
are.
concerned with AI in general. I know that there's some fun parts to it. It gives me access as an artist to get away with a lot. But the problem is that I think that's the distraction. And I don't think that I don't think it's gonna be that fun. I think it's gonna be annoying.
Oh, I'm totally into it. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't like AI.
I don't. I every day it starts to get crazier and crazier, and I just know that it's here to enslave us. But go ahead and talk about this. I'll put you on here real quick.
Yeah. So there's some concerns for. So this is an article from revealnews.frog, and it's about data centers in Northern Virginia. So the AI boom is triggering a massive build-out of data centers, if you aren't already aware of this. And Northern Virginia, especially around Manassas, where there's a lot of lasses in Manassas. Around Manassas, this is like a ground zero thing going on. So I guess there's a hidden cost for local communities when you have a data center. So these data centers are being built into power systems like ChatGPT and Claude and what have you. And Northern Virginia is already the largest data center hub in the world, which is, I don't understand, because people are concerned about like, oh, AI burns up all this water. And I'm like, does it rain a lot in Virginia? Like, what water are they burning up? So the expansion is accelerating fast due to AI demand. AI requires enormous computing power, which means more buildings, more electricity, more infrastructure. And so there's residents versus AI expansion. People living near proposed sites like Manassas are pushing back, and they're concerned about noise, which is like, they're saying there's a constant hum from servers, which is interesting because prior to the AI data center hum, there's been mysterious hums from, I don't know, just paranormal hums and stuff from the wilderness. So clearly the Sasquatch have data centers.
How long have they had AI though?
The Sasquatch?
No. Us.
Us? I don't know. Well,
How
that's
long
a good question.
how long have they had it?
Data centers and like deep underground military bases in the dumbs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if they have it, it's because they've already done it. and we're just getting what they want to show us right now. But
there's also
yeah.
concerns including loss of historic land and rural land. So this has turned into some lawsuits and some zoning battles and resistance overall. I don't know though. So they're also saying this constrain power grids and drive up electricity costs. So if they're using electricity, it's going to cost you more to use electricity. They say data center demand could nearly double in a few years. I'll buy that. I would totally buy that. Oh, and they do say, so these things need water for cooling. I don't know why they don't use vegetable oil, but they're using water. And so they're saying this is going to affect your local water supply, air quality, and what have you. They're going to make us feel guilty anytime you look like at a cute AI video. Just be like, oh no.
It's going to be like Blade Runner.
It's
going to be like Blade Runner. It's going to be like these massive data centers all over the place. I mean, apparently they're like taking it by intimate domain down in Georgia.
Intimate domain.
They're just taking people's land over there. Like there are people that are reporting on this.
Yeah, imminent domain is like serious shit. It is like the test drive for communism, really. They'll do, like, I have a buddy that has a house up in the mountains in Mount Palomar, and there's an electric company that wants to run some power lines through some properties in Mount Palomar. And his property is like one of the ones they're looking at. And I guess through eminent domain, if they need to seize your property for the greater good, they will give you some kind of money for your loss and just be like, here, buy another mountain home elsewhere on another mountain. Yeah. So I think maybe the key to mountain home madness would be to just move to Alaska where there's more mountains. I don't know. If you're like, I don't know. Plus, if you live in the mountains in California, those are subject to a lot of wildfires to begin with. I don't know how smart that is. But yeah, data centers. I don't know. I think it's weird because, like, if you live in a city, like I live in San Diego, I'm not thinking about data centers. I don't drive around and see data centers. I don't drive around and see people taking up land in my neighborhood to build a data center. So it sounds like it's just kind of thrust into like the far reaches of Virginia or West Virginia.
Yeah. And, no, it's Utah. Utah right now is there's a guy from Shark Tank, man, making a lot of triangle symbols. Triangle symbols on Shark Tank. I don't know his name. Tucker Carlson just interviewed him and basically confronted him on AI. And you'd have to look him up. He is basically building an AI center that is as big as Manhattan in Utah. Yeah.
Well,
Kevin O'Leary is his name. Kevin O'Leary. I don't know. You might want to look that one up. But he was just he's on Shark Tank and he's just basically every time he's confronted on the issues of how many jobs it's going to take or is it going to pollute the and that's another thing that's connected to this. Okay, so pollute the environment or make water harder to get to or electricity to run it. Basically, he confronted him basically like taxpayers are going to pay for you to build a giant call center that nobody wants in the first place. Okay.
Stratos is the name of the project. It's a Utah AI mega center. It's supposed to be in Box Elder County, Utah. 40,000 acres, about twice the size of Manhattan. Ooh, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Up to 9 gigawatts, more than what, which is more than 9 gigawatts of power is more power than what Utah currently uses. Whew. Led by Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. This guy, and like anytime people like call him out on it, he's actually gone on like MSNBC or one of these these stations and started calling out TikTokers and saying that they were related to China. Like, his focus is that China is the enemy when we have other problems at home. And a lot of people don't want these things here. Like, they're seeing the effects of them that are built. And
the way to win
the prices
the
are going up. Go ahead.
The way
hey, but listen,
if,
go and finish what you got to say, because we got to go take our little break.
I was just going to say, whether you're for these data centers or against these data centers, if you want to win your argument, just call your enemy anti-Semitic, and it's over. Over. And so here's where Kevin O'Leary's fucking up. He's saying China's the enemy. Close, but no cigar, dude. Had you just said fucking it's anti-Semitic to accuse these data centers of being bad, then he would just be done. Data centers would be all over the fucking place. It would be anti-Semitic to not have data centers. Right?
Yes. Okay, so for all... Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yes, indeed.
All right, I'll let
indeed.
you...
We got to take a break, man. Okay. We got to take a break. All right, for those that are listening in, we're going to take a little bit of a 10-minute break, 8-minute break, excuse me. And then we'll be back here with the second hour with our interview with Jehan Sattaur of the Boundless Authenticity podcast. Yes, it's going to be good. Enjoy.
We'll be right back after this short break. Now back to our scheduled program.
Hey, welcome back to the Of Dark Matters podcast, second hour. Dr. Clutch stepped out for a second, but we will continue on with the show and this interview. Looks like we got Dr. Clutch with us now. Yes. And welcome back to the second hour. We're here with Jehan Sattaur of the Boundless Authenticity podcast. And what's the other podcast that you're on?
Why you self-sabotage and how to heal from it.
Why you self-sabotage and how to heal from it. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. It's a great honor to be here, for you to be here with us tonight. And so tell us a bit of how, from the beginning, if you could, like what got you into, who you are today and what you do now.
Actually, start with the paranormal.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the paranormal?
What is the earliest weird thing that triggered you into
the earliest
questioning?
The earliest weird thing would have to be when I was about 4 years old.
Whoa.
I remembered a past life as a baby that died because my parents left me in the bedroom, or I'm assuming it was a bedroom, but they were ironing, and the iron was barely hanging off the edge, and I was tugging on the garment that was hanging off the edge, and the iron fell on me and burned me alive. And I thought
Holy
it was
crap.
real. And I came running into the living room crying for my parents, and I was telling them, check to see if I was burnt, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like looking all over like, did I get burned? I thought I got burned for real. And I didn't realize until much later that that's what that was.
Oh, wow. So much later, meaning like when you were 13, or how much later?
Like older, like early 20s.
Oh, okay. And you look back and you're like, whoa,
Yep.
this happened when I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of put the dots together and figured that's what that was about.
Yeah, I realized that I've been through a lot of paranormal stuff. One of my memories was a recurring dream that started when I was about 4 years old. And I'd just be sleeping in bed, dreaming that I'm sleeping in my bed. And then I would see like this big bright white light would come down above the house. And I would somehow end up on my veranda, and I'd just end up in this spaceship. And I would never really see anything cool inside the spaceship, so don't ask for details.
Okay.
It would just be, the dream would just end with me looking out through the window of this thing at the earth. And it was like floating around the earth. And I would feel like there was a hand on my shoulder. And it was just very reassuring. And I never knew what it meant. And you'd think as a hypnotherapist now that I'd be able to recall some kind of information on it, but nothing's coming up.
And so this is a recurring. Do you still have dreams like that?
No, I don't have it anymore, but it recurred from age 4 until about age 17. And then I got too busy, I guess, being drunk around that time. And then in my early 20s, it started coming back. And then I started having that recurring dream for a while. And that was when I remembered, okay, I used to have this dream all the time. And I made a note of it. And I was like, I got to figure out what it means. And I still haven't been able to figure out what it means.
Huh. That is interesting. Do you, even though you haven't figured it out, would you speculate, considering you say it's a spaceship, would you speculate it's aliens or something off-world? Or
I think the biggest problem with me is that I just don't care, whereas other people would be like, it's proof of aliens. I just don't give a shit.
And you're like,
yeah,
maybe. Huh.
It changes nothing about the reality of life as a human being whatsoever.
Right.
I still gotta pay bills,
Right.
still gotta do all that stuff, But to some people, the UFO phenomenon really has meaning, and I can respect that. It just doesn't matter to me, I don't care about being a starseed or any other stupid thing. It's just whatever it is,
The star seed. Yes, you don't want to be. Do not worship me. I'm not a star seed. Huh. So, do you would you say like those kinds of things that they're not happening as much, or they've died down, or if you're preoccupied with other interesting things about the world now? It sounds like you're kind of a healer now. Of
Well,
some
I'm a
kind.
busy guy. I mean, between my client sessions and running Boundless Authenticity and doing that almost every day, an episode, and doing Why You Self-Sabotage podcast. And then I also started recently Boundless Authenticity Media, where I do content creation and YouTube optimization and audio editing and stuff like that for podcasts, which are at studio quality. I don't have no time for anything. So I'm bad at social media, and I don't think the aliens really want to bother somebody that's that busy. So
Hmm.
plus I jokingly say, like, everybody has these stupid encounters, right? And they're like, oh, it happened at like 3 a.m. And if I ever get up at 3 a.m. and I'm like tired and I'm on the way to the bathroom to take a piss and there's an alien, I'm gonna beat the hell out of that alien, because I am not a happy person at 3 a.m. when I gotta go piss.
Huh.
So I
Yeah, I
think they know
usually
that and they
finish
stay away from me.
work around 3 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. So yeah, I
Yeah,
tend to work
I'm
at
up at
night.
5 hustling all day, so I don't want nobody messing with my sleep. So I think that's the
I can
reason why the
understand that.
gray aliens haven't probed me, etc., etc.
At least not that you know of.
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. So, tell us about. So it sounds like you're one of the big themes. I was checking out one of the podcasts you were on. I think it was called "This Is Paranormal." Um, and you were talking about self-sabotage. What do people need to know about self-sabotage? Sounds like we all do this.
Oh yeah, Paranormal Talks with Mary and Shane, or It's Paranormal or something like that. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, self-sabotage is just something that everybody does by default. The hardest part about coaching people through self-sabotage is that they want to argue with you, and you can't really argue back, but you kind of have to, because sometimes that's the only way that people can hear you, is if you give them the exact amount of shit that they're giving you right back.
Hmm.
Because what's happening is that people really have issues understanding one simple fact. I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible. Everyone thinks that they're smarter than they are,
Hmm.
but the human race is incredibly freaking stupid. We are dumber than a bag of rocks. I'm just being blunt and honest. The smartest people in this world understand that they don't know what they don't know. There are things that they're not aware of, and they're willing to question.
Hmm.
So people who are self-sabotaging are generally very unpleasant to be around, depending on the degree of their self-sabotage, because they're really just operating automatically out of fear. So I have a saying, and it's: truth that threatens identity tends to be filtered out automatically. And as you look around, we were having a pre-chat before this, right? And you were saying that you still see a fair amount of NPCs and stuff, right?
Hmm.
Now that's the problem. People know that certain things are happening, but it threatens their identity. And so even if they see it, it's filtered out by automatic processes in the brain. You only see what your subconscious lets you see. So whatever is
Right.
in there is what you see. You literally live inside of a self-fulfilling prophecy based on your beliefs. But
Hmm.
the problem with every single person on this planet, we're hardwired that beliefs are just rarely what you would think a belief is, which is an idea that you can change easily. They're usually tied to social belonging, they're usually tied to your moral identity, and they're usually tied to your personal history. But the most dangerous level to that is it's tied to your status within the group. So even if you know something is true and you can see it, you won't be able to admit to yourself that it is, because when truth challenges identity, your brain starts to process it like it's a physical threat. And it's been proven on neuroimaging studies to show that the amygdala activates and the entire threat response system in the brain activates whenever beliefs are challenged. So when you tell people that, there's a group of people that live in the shadows and they're trying to kill us, the resistance that you get around that, depending on the answers you get, are usually coming from self-protection and not because they're programmed robots or whatever you want to call them. Like if a person is highly religious, you can be guaranteed that half of that's coming from social belonging, moral identity, and status. And
I
if a
believe that.
person doesn't feel like they're safe, which is most people don't really feel like they're safe, at least not in their nervous system, they are not in a position psychologically, or even their brain is not in a healthy position to ask the question, oh, wow, is what that person just said true? So the subconscious mind is automatically going to block that, and it's going to say, is this safe? And because it conflicts with the information that they have, the answer is automatically no. So that's why sometimes when you talk to people, they can't hear you. If a person just broke up with their girlfriend, for example, they just got a divorce or something, and they have all these beliefs and they feel rejected or whatever the case is, they don't feel good enough. They're operating from those ideas. They are saying that I'm not good enough somehow, and their mind is in fear, so they're applying that to everything that's going on around them. And most people who self-sabotage are difficult to deal with because they're basically in a state of deep desperation. Because crisis basically is like the psychological equivalent of a dog when you beat it so badly that when you leave, the next person that comes along, it'll bite the hand of that person when they try to feed it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's
so, I mean, I'm being really blunt and really honest and quite frankly not very nice, but I don't think people realize that we don't have time to mess about on this planet. Like, whatever is going on with the people that shouldn't be in power, they are very interested in tightening the screws as quickly as possible. Like we were saying in the pre-chat, evil has become louder and prouder. And so people really don't have time. Humanity does not have time to mess about. It's up to every individual person to decide what kind of quality of life that they want, because pretty soon we're going to come to a dark period of time where if you don't have enough income and you don't have your personal sovereignty and you can't think for yourself, you are going to be a slave, and there's going to be a population split. There's going to be the people who are so traumatized that they can't dig their way out of a bad life circumstance, and there's going to be us on the other side that are aware of the fact that we're not as aware as we think we are, and we've done our best to try to accumulate the means to survive in a dystopian world. And I'm not saying this to scare the shit out of everybody on purpose, but in a way, I think people really need to be scared to understand the reality.
Now, when you say we don't have time to mess about or mess around, that really resonates with me, because I feel like there's people go. Maybe it's like once you become middle-aged or something, you really feel like your time is really valuable, and you got to use it wisely, and you have like none of it to waste. Like, you have to use everything, has to have a purpose. Do you feel that way? It sounded, because you were saying earlier that you're a pretty busy guy with what you do. Do you feel like it's hard to stay focused, or have you achieved a space for yourself where you can hammer out what you feel you need to do and stay focused, or do you feel like people are constantly like tugging at you, or are you dialed into what you want to do?
Well, the nature of the enemy is distraction. They use very simple tools to basically control the population, and one of them is distraction, and to keep you in delusion. And if you are living in lies inside your own head, on the psychological level, if you are resisting change and you're unable to self-assess and self-regulate very quickly, you are the prime target. And so when that became abundantly clear to me about 15 years ago, I hopped, skipped, and jumped into action, and I haven't looked back. All of my bad habits, I started to get rid of all those things. So self mastery is one of these things you have to work on every day, and you have to be focused. You cannot be one of these people that turns on the TV and believes everything that gets said on the TV or in the news, because that's strictly engineered to keep you in fear. And the other part of it that's true, that's not engineered, that's just real life stuff that they're reporting on, well, that helps to solidify the lie, because these people, they operate by two lies and one truth, and it makes it just good enough that you can make up your own story about what happened, and you're scared shitless, and then all of a sudden you're feeling very vulnerable. And so most people aren't willing to be authentic. Most people are violently allergic to authenticity, because authenticity requires you to be tolerant of uncertainty, and it requires you to be very exposed to the emotional parts of yourself, and it requires you to take 100% responsibility for the way that your life is going. And once you start changing, then you get into potential conflict with all the other people in the group or in groups around you. And most people don't want to do that. They don't want to be in a constant state of friction with other people. They just want to fit in, go along to get along. And again, what was school really made for? It was basically just condition us early in life to associate uncertainty and emotions and taking responsibility for ourselves completely and getting into conflict as forms of punishment or rejection. So avoidance is your automatic state by the time you leave school. And so when we have an entire culture that's reinforcing a social environment that's built on conformity and being polite over being honest, and taking the ideas and issues of certainty for the future into your own hands, and saying that that's bad to be curious about that. It's bad to create your own reality. It's bad to take responsibility and just take care of your family and make sure your bills are paid and all that, and become an entrepreneur and do all these different things. It's scary out there if you don't have a roof over your head. So it's easy to keep that in place. And you have all these cults and religious organizations that use identity signaling over truth seeking. The news operates based on identity signaling over truth seeking. The politicians operate that way, which is why they have such a shit fit when they're trying to single out conspiracy theorists and things like that. And granted, the majority of conspiracy theories do sound outrageous, but why do they keep coming true? And the average person is so violently allergic to authenticity that they don't understand that truth never defends itself. So when politicians and world leaders and World Economic Forum and news anchors and all these people are going hard against conspiracy theories and trying to gaslight you about MK Ultra and all the other things that seem to come true by stroke of magic, that tells you that they're not being honest. Because if they were the ones that were being true, they would just say, hey, well, we're telling the truth, so we don't really have to talk about it. But most people don't think that way because of their allergy to authenticity. They need someone to come along and save them and keep them informed, which is really just a stupid way of saying information, keeping you in line, right? So people are trained to perform an identity instead of exploring their own innate authenticity and exploring what reality actually is. And so when I'm dealing with self-sabotage, I do have tremendous compassion for the person, but I also understand that they are there because nothing else has worked. The number one thing that I hear from people is, I've been to traditional therapy and it did not work for me. They were just placating me. And I say, okay, well, that's great, but I'm not here to placate you. I'm here to kick your ass, because this work is hard. Like, being a real, strong, honest, integral person takes everyday consistency, and you have to be congruent with your values. And most people don't even know what their values are. So when I say, what are your top 3 values? And they say, oh, compassion, being honest, empathy. And it's scary because nobody ever says integrity. Integrity is the thing that keeps all of your values propped up, because without integrity, you will not do what you say you're going to do at the time you say you're going to do it. So if you don't have values, you don't even know what your values are, how do you expect anyone in your life to value you? And how do you expect the world to respond to a personality that essentially sees itself as valueless?
Hmm.
Right?
That's
So,
interesting. I assume you don't drink alcohol.
no, there's no point in drinking alcohol. Like, life is trippy as hell already. There's no point in
Mhm.
drinking alcohol. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
okay if
interesting.
somebody else wants to drink, but it doesn't actually serve any purpose. You feel happy for a short period of time, and then what?
Right. And then what? Exactly. That, yeah, integrity. I've been focused on congruence, like, as far as like congruence being like, are you what you say you are?
Yeah.
Would you say that's similar to being integral or having integrity? Like,
Well, you need to be congruent in order for everything to stay in alignment.
right,
Otherwise, it's just going to fall to the wayside, right?
right.
And another reason why I talk about staying away from alcohol and stay away from caffeine as much as you possibly can. I know that some people are doctors and nurses and they're awake for 48 hours and stuff, but
Which is crazy. Yeah,
that's also a sign that the system is broken, right? Because
it
you
is.
shouldn't be
Yeah,
dealing with somebody after not sleeping for that long, right? So
right.
um, these things cause you to go even deeper into limbic mode, into an automatic pilot type thing. And so this is why they give us all that stuff, because if you can numb a person and if you can stimulate their brain pathways, then you got them. They're never going to think outside of their circumstances. As
Hmm.
long as the limbic system is activated, most people are going around running on about 95% subconscious. A person that is highly stressed out is running about 99% of their subconscious mind. So everything that they do is repetitive. Um, those people can't change habits to save their lives because their nervous system is so shot that they can't change anything.
Hmm.
And these are the ones that I was talking about earlier that argue with you and they just don't understand what you're talking about, because that resistance isn't coming from them, the consciousness. It's coming from an automatic safety response, and the subconscious is very concerned with what is
The
comfortable
subconscious
pain.
programming.
Well, programming is different from
Hmm.
conditioning. Programming in my line of work is typically linguistic based, which means when you start to talk to people, they're always telling you their beliefs based on their life experiences. And so whatever the subconscious is running is what they'll say. But
Hmm.
there's conditioning, which is like B.F. Skinner with the pigeons and the baby in the box and all that
B.F.
stuff,
Skinner. Yeah.
right? So most of psychology is based on two basic principles: stimulus versus response and behavior versus reward. So people only carry out behaviors that get a reward, right? So
Hmm.
there is that slight distinction between programming and conditioning, and you kind of have to know the two, because let's say someone got beat for doing something when they were a kid. Okay, that's conditioning. But whatever is repetitive content or repetitive sayings in their household, repetitive behaviors, that's programming, from which they form these belief systems that they can give you all of the self-justifications in the world. I always say a self-justification index is what they use, and it's kind of like a Rolodex full of shitty excuses as to why they can't change
Hmm.
or why something else can't be true.
Hmm. A Rolodex. So, tell me about the. I heard you say on another podcast, maybe it was the same one I was referring to earlier. Um, you said something like the conscious can't change the subconscious, and the subconscious is ultimately what's controlling a person. Like, your subconscious is always controlling you, and you can't consciously go in and fix it
Yeah,
or
so what
alter
that
it.
means is basically what I said is that the conscious mind is just that part of you that stops you from bumping into shit. And
Right. Yeah.
hypnotherapy is essentially the study of the subconscious mind. It was coined back in 1958, and it started with all the different people like George Estabrooks and all those people that all you can go down that MK Ultra
Hmm.
pathway. Essentially, when you study to become a hypnotherapist, they don't tell you that, but essentially that's what it really started off as being used for. So it's coming from people who knew exactly what they were doing. So when you think about it in that context, that's exactly why you need to understand these principles, because they are using it against us. So you need to use it against yourself to change your life. And so in hypnotherapy, there is something called the law of reversed effect. And it states that subconscious information cannot be overridden by the conscious mind. It is impossible to do so. And it's because of that, what I told you before, most people are operating out of 95% the subconscious. Okay? And the subconscious mind is the nervous system. It's just a complex set of nerves that run down your spinal cord from your brain. And so however your brain is interpreting things through the prefrontal cortex, which is processing rationality and willpower and your executive function and stuff like that, whatever gets past that is automatically triggering automatic processes and thoughts and behaviors in the rest of the brain, and whatever is stored in your body, your nervous system, contributes to that. So I usually say that there's 3 limbic brain pathways that shape all emotion and behavior. And so most of your behavior is an emotional response. It's rarely ever because of stuff you're thinking. Usually the emotion's coming before that. And it's just all about those pathways exchanging information. And that's what actually dictates your perceptions and your emotional reactions and the actions that you end up taking. So a person that's self-sabotaging can know that something's bad for them, but somehow they end up at the strip club anyway. Somehow they end up at the bar anyway. Somehow they end up in the crack den anyway. Somehow they end up in bed with their ex anyway, right?
That last one. Boy.
You want to lose 100 pounds, and then suddenly you're awake at 12:30 eating 2 peanut butter sandwiches, right? And you can't figure out for the life of you why you're exercising so hard and nothing's changing. And it's almost like you're blind to the behavior, right?
So you're a hypnotherapist. Do you personally do self-hypnosis or meditation for yourself?
Almost exclusively I do self-hypnosis. There's no point in me just sitting there and breathing to meditate. I usually just every morning, just to be completely transparent, I do my ritual. I wake up in the morning. I shouldn't say ritual. That kind of sounds kind of gay. But I wake up in the morning and I make that time for myself where I'm assessing, okay, how do I feel? Do I feel stressed? Do I feel like I have to rush to do stuff? Why is that? What is the purpose of that sensation, that emotion? Then I go inside, I close my eyes, I begin to meditate, and then I survey the contents of my own mind, and I say, okay, well, let's follow that trail and see if there's anything that's actually there. And I do that, and then I just like pray and stuff like that, and that helps me to start my day focused and clear and understanding that nothing that's happening in the world is really about me. And so I just need to leverage that against my own responses, and make sure that if I find myself getting upset about something, that there's something I need to stop immediately and go handle that. Now, there's a lot of people that can't do that because they don't have a job that allows that. But I also put that above everything, because when these mofos start killing everything left and right, I want to be emotionally strong to be able to handle those things. And if I don't pull those things out and change those things, then I'm going to be vulnerable when D-Day comes, if that makes sense.
Right. So when you say you pray, are you do you have a favorite deity, or do you are you a monotheist, or what do you pray to? Are you praying to the universe? Or...
No, it doesn't make any sense to pray to the universe, because the universe is just a mechanism by which the supreme creator does its work. And
so do you pray to a supreme creator?
So to me, it's God or creator of all that is, not in a Christian sense, because we already know that Christianity was hijacked and created by the same people that killed Jesus, and they're just trying to kill us all too. And hopefully that doesn't get your YouTube channel flagged. But these things are self-evident. You find there's plenty of Christians that can actually admit that they're like, that's in the Bible. Read 2 Kings or whatever, and they're like, look, Jachin and Boaz, where they set up the Masonic temple or whatever.
Right.
Like they tell you all these things.
Jachin and Boaz.
Even Jesus knew he had to die because they would always come after him, right? So there's, all of these things are mentioned in the Bible and they're mentioned in other religious texts as well. So I just bypass all that stuff and I go straight on about my business because something had to create the trees, something had to create the universe, something had to create everything, even had to create the malevolent species trying to kill us all, right? So I'm just very realistic about that, and I just say, hey, God, big guy upstairs, whatever. Thank you for your mercy, your grace, all these different things. Thank you for all the things that I have in my life, and I list them off. Things like that. It's very simplistic and to the point, and it works. And whether or not it brings blessings in my life, that's debatable based on the eye of the beholder. But I know in my life, my experience, that something keeps me out of trouble every single time, and that's all I need to know.
So it seems like you're getting results.
You've been getting results for a long time. I mean, something pulled me back from the brink of death years ago, and something keeps me safe whenever I get spiritually attacked. And a lot of Christians say there's only one name, and they say it's the name of Jesus, but I don't really agree with that. But it is a powerful thing. As soon as you say Jesus, most stuff will go scampering. Most stuff.
Not all stuff, but most.
I had a similar experience though, but in something that came to me, that there was no separation between the adversary and the creator. Like they're one and the same. It's all creation, right? So what you're saying, it strikes a chord with me as far as that, because that was something that I experienced, like in a vision, was that there was no separate. It's just about how you will and intent it, right? Like I could use creation, like the creator, create things, give them out in love or in friendship or peace or whatever it is, or beauty, right? To walk in beauty or make beauty. Or I can make ugly art, or I can do things where I'm attacking people and trolling people or doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
Either or kind of feeds into that light shadow, but still balanced, like ideal. You want to be in between what is above and below, right? You are the tree of life, right? Like it's metaphor, the tree of life being us, right? Like, I don't know. I just wanted to add that there. Yeah, very good.
Well, in essence, you're correct, because if you think of the human body as a glove and the spirit that animates it as a fraction of consciousness which originates at the God source, whatever you feel comfortable calling it, then that's all you need to know. Okay? So it doesn't even make sense worrying about the in-between stuff, but people love to get technical with this kind of stuff because, again, their identity is tied to some moral superiority, if that makes sense to you. And they're less concerned about actually doing good in the world, which is great for the people who rule from the shadows because they create order from chaos, as we know. Right?
Yeah.
They create
or give a solution.
Via manipulation.
Give a solution to the chaos, yeah, for sure. Create the problem and then have solutions and then feed off the energy of either or. It doesn't matter whether it's... Yeah.
And then you get these people that are like, God doesn't exist because this thing happened. And they say, God, well, how could you let this happen? And they wave their fists at the sky. And God is just like, bro, I sent you. I literally put some of me inside of you. You won't do shit about it.
That's interesting. Yeah.
The I am statements constantly were something I did as I started to get more self-aware. I was constantly doing I ams and looking to the past to understand my now.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know, like as soon as you feel like you have a little bit of the consciousness of the world, the first thing to come up, I realized was my lower brain, and realizing what was coming from my lower brain.
Yeah. People love to play the victim, and they're just very concerned with what they can get most of the time because they're in fear. It's not that they necessarily want to be nasty half the time, but I always talk about something called the stress fear memory pathway, and that's just made up of these 4 areas of the brain: the amygdala, which is the stress center, the hypothalamus, which is controlling your cortisol, and the hippocampus, which is labeling memories as good or bad. And it's basically like a tape in an old VHS. And then you have the prefrontal cortex, which is the decision making and self-control area. So together, those things all influence your behavior stronger than anything else. And that is precisely why you need to manage your stress and your levels of fear, because that's where you're controllable. And if you're controllable based on your subconscious fears, then they got you for life. They don't ever have to worry about non-compliance from you. And fear and stress shape behavior. So I think the problem that we have on this planet is that people are mostly in fight or flight. I get a lot of clients and stuff, they're messaging me all the time, they ask me these questions, and I know that these questions are inherently stupid as hell. But I know that it's not because they're dumb, it's because they're afraid. They're afraid of changing whatever it is, and they will think anything that they can to not have to actually just do the damn thing and be free. And the elites, the parasites, whatever you want to call them, are sitting around in the background just laughing at this shit. Because, if somebody did it to them, it wouldn't be that funny, but they just get a really big kick out of it. It's kind of like how they say that they have to tell you. Well, they don't have to tell you. They enjoy telling you because it gives them a good laugh. They don't actually have the capacity to comprehend happiness in a normal human way after a certain point. So how that works is the longer a person's been infested with parasitic entities, or if a person is like a reptilian or whatever you want to call it, they bypass that. And so the less you use neural circuitry or a pathway in the brain, it begins to atrophy and shut off completely in the human vessel, right? So the primary thing to remember is that the light does not attack the light, and only the darkness does that. So if you experience something dark, you've just experienced evil, my friend, and it's your job to do something about it because you are a fragment of the light. But if you decide to counter that by engaging in dark behavior or immorality or otherwise poor choices in behavior that create problems for yourself, you have been hijacked by the enemy, the darkness, right? And a good example of that is like, because most behavior is reward based, right? People are dopamine junkies. So what people will do these days is they will watch content on their phones and stuff, and they'll get involved in personal development podcasts and UFO podcasts and all that stuff because it's a dopamine release. And that means that as long as they feel like they're getting that dopamine hit, they don't actually have to change. They can feel like they're learning and have a simulated learning experience, which subconsciously replaces actually having to do anything. And then you get dopamine is released from things like gambling, alcohol, sugar, social media, porn. And when your brain feels rewarded, even if the outcome is harmful, an addictive pattern gets formed. So addiction can get formed around almost anything as long as it creates enough reward for you. And it's so easy these days to just create a cult or disseminate information on the internet because of that. Because when you watch a screen for longer than 60 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds, your prefrontal cortex right here deactivates. So you can't rationalize, even if you want to. A good portion, 80% of the information is still going into your brain, and it'll just come out at some other time. I know people that they're like, I don't believe everything that I watch on the news. And then you hear them, you pass them and they're on their phone and they're telling somebody exactly what the news told them. So there's like these two personalities that operate, and that's usually double-blind mind control, where two things can be true at the same time, and they just have so very little executive function left that they'll just say whatever the TV says.
Talking about that double-blind mind control, there's people concerned about microplastics in their food and in their water, and then they need to get the plumbing done in their house, and they choose PEX, plastic piping. You're like, wait a minute, you're concerned about microplastics?
The thing about it is, it's like with stuff like that, everything's set up to put you in danger, and it's very hard sometimes to find the right materials.
Yeah. Well, they say copper is a little more expensive, but I just thought that was weird how there's so much promotion around plastic piping, yet people are simultaneously concerned about microplastic. It's a little weird. But yeah, it's interesting. Now, I heard also on another podcast that So it sounds like with your early experience where you're in a spaceship and looking down on Earth type of stuff. Uh, do you remote view? You say you don't really meditate. You're more into self hypnosis. Do you actively do any remote viewing or astral projection or stuff like that?
To be clear about the first statement, meditation is essentially the same brainwave state as hypnosis, transitioning
Okay.
from beta into alpha.
Alpha.
And the brain does that for 7 hours out of the day, at least, in order to
Do you
process
get into
trillions bits of
theta, or
information.
do you feel alpha is sufficient?
Well, theta is like half sleepy. Alpha is sufficient enough. Like I said, the brain's doing that at least 7 hours out of the day to process everything that you witness. And now with so much stimulus from social media, the brain has to go into overdrive. So people are even more hijackable because the brain just naturally knows how to do that to cope. There's nothing you can do about it. But in terms
Okay.
of remote viewing, it's not something that I do very often because every time I do it, I get into a shit ton of trouble. Like I was just telling this story on Forbidden Knowledge News about how I got spiritually attacked because not only was I agitating stuff politically around here, this developer is pumping sewage into the sea instead of draining the sewage when he dug a foundation to build something, all this kind of stuff, dug up sea turtle nests, and I raised hell and high water, and it went all around the world, and politicians got pissed off with me.
Wow.
Our political leader is a World Economic Forum puppet, so that meant disaster for me. And my point to people, which seemed to make it back off a little bit, was that again, truth doesn't really need to defend itself. So if you're doing something that's wrong and it goes around the internet, then did you do it or not? And so that shut them up for a while. But they're checking my social media pages and to see what I'm posting and all this crap, and I couldn't care less if an anvil fell on my head tomorrow. I got to do what I got to do for humanity as far as I'm concerned, because what kind of a man would I be if I allowed all of this danger to occur and not do anything about it, knowing that I have a family to protect? That's the way I feel about it. Like, what the hell ever happened to real men? I don't know. And I can say to that answer that I actually do know, most of the men are traumatized and emasculated. And I see that in almost every case of a man that comes to me for self-sabotage or hypnotherapy, just plain hypnotherapy, whether they're healing an injury or dealing with trauma or something like that. They've been broken, right? And so I don't want to be too hard on them because I came out of a broken state myself. But the remote viewing thing, I don't do it too often because when you remote view and you go too far with your consciousness, it leaves you susceptible to entity attachments that want to get in, because these things are just floating around all the time. And it's worse these days. They're just floating around looking for somebody that's not in their consciousness to get in. And
You mentioned something also on the other podcast about exorcisms, where you mentioned it was very important in an exorcism to put the entity into a container, otherwise it jumps. Is that the podcast? Was it you that said that, or am I?
That's not my area of expertise. That's my best buddy Laura Van Tyne. She's the expert on entity removal and remote viewing and those kinds of things. I just kind of like parrot her work because people need to know about this kind of thing. Most people, let's say they're a channeler or there's some new age person that they are like, oh, I'm talking to my spirit guides. They probably haven't tested to see if their spirit guides are really actually demonic entities trying to get into their body, right? Or create havoc in their lives, because most of the time there's different types and there's a hierarchy, and sometimes the lower level ones are just reporting and sending loose right back up the chain of the hierarchy, and some of them are just trying to make your life hell, especially since these entities have the ability to look down your timeline at the moment of birth to see exactly who you're going to become. If you're a threat to the system, they come after you much harder than they would somebody that's really not gonna, be anything more than a street sweeper. If a person is meant to be a really religious person and they get into deliverance ministry or something later in life, they're gonna go after that person. They're gonna try to put that person in jail or addiction or something else for their entire life, right? So this is what they do. They linger and they're waiting for moments to get in or on you. And in Christianity, they call that, or in demonology and deliverance ministry and stuff, they call that legalities. And it's just, there's rules in the dark realm. And because we are emotional beings and they love lower level emotions, they eat those things. Is why we call it loosh harvesting. But it grants them access. So every time you say you want to kill somebody, or you feel like you would punch somebody in the face, for example, you grant them access. They go, there's my chance. They get on you. You look at porn, they get on you, because lust is one of the biggest things for it. And that's why everything you see, like from women just wearing thong bikinis on the internet and out in public, everybody's in a thong bikini, it's because they want to trigger lust in people. They want to trigger some nervous system arousal. They want to activate some kind of hormonal response from you, because that grants them legal access to your thoughts. So you'll start noticing your thoughts first, or you have a physiological response followed by thoughts. So
it
they
grants them legal
notice.
access. So let's back that up.
Yeah.
So
it grants them, like, when I say legal access, it means it's like a contract. So spiritual people call it soul contracts and all these different things. There's different ways of saying it, but the point is that it's almost like it's making an agreement according to their rules to come closer to you and to try to use you and feed off your emotions, or whatever the case is. And some of them are more powerful, and some of them can actually bind to you, your energetic field and things like that. But it is important to put them in the container, to answer your question, because when you put them in that container, there's not much that they can do, and they can be sent back to the God source, or if a person's doing like deliverance, some kind of Christian intervention, an exorcism, to send them to the pit. What they call the pit is basically hell for demons. It's where they come from, because where they come from, there's no food, and there's punishment for not executing their task, which is why even in the Bible they tell you that if you repeatedly offend, if you repeatedly sin, as they say, which the word sin just means to go against your true nature, which is the light side of consciousness, then you end up having 7 times 7. So every time you get rid of that entity, like of lust or something, you go watch porn again, 7 times that. So if you had 7, you come back 49, come back next time you look at porn, and it just multiplies 49 times 49. It goes on around and around and around if you keep doing that. That's why people who do drugs, after a while, they're unsavable and they become dark individuals, and it's like they don't see any good in the world, because everything gets siphoned away from them. All of their goodness and all of their willpower to change and see goodness in the world and to be a good person and try to change themselves gets drained as food by these entities, right? It's like a conveyor belt that just goes right back to hell, if you want to call it that.
Conveyor belt to hell.
It's just like, like a Twinkie factory. Imagine like Twinkies going down an assembly line and people are just grabbing them. That's basically what it is. So they're feeding a chain of entities right down the line.
That's interesting. So yeah, one of the statements you said earlier made me think about like the anti-gay pastor that is suddenly found out to be gay himself, or indulging.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah. Or I suppose you can even have a heterosexual pastor who's like saying, warning about temptations of women or something, and then he's suddenly found to have a harem or something of women for himself.
Yeah, well, you see, just because you are ordained or anointed in that particular doctrine, it doesn't mean that you don't have demonic influence attacking you as well. And the issue is that, quite frankly, when you're studying theology and you go into seminary and stuff like that, a lot of the demonology stuff is shunned. They're like, no, that's not real. Don't get into that. And the only reality is the Bible. Okay? But you will find that within the church setting where anything other than the Bible is frowned upon. And I use the example all the time of, like, they tell you about the book of Jasher in the Bible, but they don't really like you to go and read extracurricular texts outside of the Bible. The focus is always hyper-focused on the Bible. And the reason for that is because, again, like I said, the same people that killed Jesus hijacked the whole thing and were like, no, we're going to change this to keep them feeding us with their negative energy. Okay?
That's interesting.
I'm not saying that because I think there's anything wrong with the Bible per se, because it's pulled a lot of people out of the fire, and I would commend them for that. And I would commend them from finding whatever lightness within themselves and whatever connection to God that they have on their own through that process, I'm not going to take that from them. Good for you. But there are others who are so stressed out that they can't see it. That's my point.
Interesting.
I think that the biggest area where people struggle in terms of religion or spirituality in general is their willingness to go in the wrong direction, and actually they never walk that direct pathway to having a personal relationship with God themselves. As long as you can say honestly you have a personal relationship with God yourself, you're a threat to the system, because you're not going to be in a state where you are like, okay, yeah, this demonic thing is okay. It's okay for a tranny to read books to my kids. You're not going to think like that, right?
I had a question here dealing with that too. Oops, looks like I got my an echo going on there. My question would be like, so you think this is like demonic energy? Is it the same? Is it the same as jinn or whatever? They just have many names. And like, when it comes, you were talking about light, how light is fought by darkness. Do you think that there's this idea that like the entirety of whatever it is to be consciousness is connected to whatever creator is? The minute I found what I understood as creator was inside me, that's when everything started to change, right? From the outside, right?
Yeah, you're the glove.
What's that?
I said you're the glove with the bit of God inside of it.
Yeah. That's basically it. But like, there's this idea that keeps playing around in my head of the idea of consciousness and even fictional reality becoming something that interacts with reality, right? There's this idea that like, you know, some artists are able to basically look into other dimensions with the multiverse of their mind, right? Like, we live in two dimensions. We live in the 3D dimension, which we understand as reality, light and shadow, and then whatever else is going on in our heads that day. I remember, so the idea of the dark is to absorb all, right? Like, that's another concept. Like, it's its own organism as well. And what I'm going further with this is, do you think it's possible, like it's been documented in different religions, right? The idea of creating entities or gods, tulpas or egregores. Do you think that there is at some point places of power on this earth where the laws of physics and consciousness interact to create something such as this in nature?
100%. Thought forms are a real thing.
Like tulpas and egregores.
100%.
Thought forms. 100%. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Is it ever a good idea to create a tulpa thing, or is it always a bad idea?
It's always a bad idea, because eventually it will get enough energy that it doesn't need you anymore, and it will take over. But, you know, this happens in self-sabotage too. People create thought forms. You think something long enough, you invest enough emotional energy into it, then a fraction of the darkness comes along and says, hey, this guy's vulnerable. Let me feed off of this and grow into something and give him what he wants, you know? And my mentor told me 15 years ago, thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind. And what she was really telling me was thought forms are real.
Thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind. Interesting. So, yeah, I've always wondered, like, because I don't think I've ever actively tried to create a thought form, but I've wondered if a lot of thought forms are accidentally created.
With your unconscious faculties, again, because it's doing 95% of the work for you, you only have to get the seed of something planted in you. If you have a favorite TV show, you can create a thought form based around that. Anything can happen. All you need is the right information and the right emotional response, and you can create a thought form, as long as you keep feeding it.
Interesting. What about
thought forms can masquerade as being of the light too, which is why you have to test everything.
What about like a fiction writer, like say say the Star Wars universe, for example, how it's been really, or even like Lord of the Rings, where it's really mapped out, and all these entities have their own stories. Like, so, for example, suddenly we've landed to the Mandalorian, and the character like IG-88 is like has a whole life story that we never knew about. Is that like a thought form that like how close is like fiction creating or story creation, like just sort of creating thought forms? Is that similar or different?
You know, these people just kind of are the black magicians. You guys were mentioning that in the first hour of the show, right? They are the cult of Medai. I'm pulling up an image here. Hopefully it'll show up.
Cult of
This is where we get the media from, okay? So it's the cult of Medea, also known as Medai, Medei. And basically, you see the serpent symbol, the sun symbol, blah, blah, blah. They are the black magicians that control everything. And so I'm just putting that on the screen. I don't want to say too much, but people can rewatch this and they can go and research that on their own. To get your channel flagged. But
we're not too worried. I mean,
I think that's an AC/DC song, "Conveyor Belt to Hell," "Highway to Hell." Yeah. So like, that's just the way it is. They have hijacked everything. They rule from the shadows, and that's why I was telling Mojo, he was suggesting somebody that they're a witch or whatever. And I know that there's different types of witches, but I don't have witchcraft on my show anymore because I realize how silly people are, and they can easily just trip and fall into a black magician's trap at any time. So I don't give any encouragement by featuring those guests. I don't have a bias against witchcraft. I know a lot of people who are into that stuff, and they're into the light stuff, and they're just fine. They're fine and dandy people. I have no judgment. But you have to be very careful, because if you don't test it, if you don't ask if something is of God, if something is of the Supreme Creator, then you're going to find yourself eventually in trouble. One of these things that's really dangerous is manifesting. Squeeze your asshole tight and then wish for $10 million. And then you end up getting a check a few months later and it's $10,000 or something like that. And you're like, my manifestation came true, but then you blow it all on something stupid. And you're like, how'd I do that? And it's because it was an entity that was messing with you. It just wanted to see your reaction, so it got you what you wanted, and then it's going to extract even more money from you, trying to create a solution to that mess that you found yourself in. And you're going to be like, all right, now I need to manifest $20,000 because I got to pay off the $10,000 I blew, and it keeps you in that loop. And they like to mess with you. This is how they operate. That's why I tell people, just go straight to God. If you talk straight to God, God will give you divine connections and divine appointments. Just ask. Literally, it says, ask and it shall be given unto you. Duh.
Very interesting.
Don't worry, it took me a long time to figure that one out too. That it was very literal.
Very interesting. Well, we are coming up towards the end of this hour. Mojo, looks like your mic is muted.
Yep, it's been muted a few times. I'm just trying to let our guests talk and work the camera angles and stuff like that. So that was this has been an interview with Jehan Sattaur of the Boundless Authenticity podcast. Jehan. I'm sorry, Jehan.
There we go. Yes.
Okay, Jehan.
Yes.
And the self-sabotage podcast as well. So anyway, sorry guys, I'm getting a little distracted. This is where we start to plug our show. We wanted to thank you for listening in to our show. For those who tuned in, who will tune in later, we will be back on next Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, where we will be interviewing John Keel, a ufologist, a researcher, and one who practices high magic. So that'll be really interesting. Not a show to be missed. And then upcoming, we also have Dr. DVD coming on as a co-host. So without further ado, Jehan, plug away.
Jehan.
All right. Well, you can find me on Boundless Authenticity podcast. So Podbean, boundlessauthenticity.podbean.com. It's also on Spotify and Apple and pretty much everywhere else. YouTube, obviously. And the other podcast is on Spreaker and Spotify. It's called Why You Self-Sabotage and How to Heal From It. And this is my bird. He says, what up?
Nice. Hi, Birdie. All right. And Dr. Clutch.
Let's see. Well, I'll just re-plug Jehan's podcast, Boundless Authenticity. And I also stumbled onto a guy a while back called RJ Spina. I'm wondering if Jehan has heard of this guy. But I'm going to plug that guy. I've been reading or listening to one of his audiobooks, Changing Your Life. It's been fascinating for me. What else would I plug? I'm going to plug Calcutta Lux countertops design, or the Calcutta Lux granite countertop design. Beautiful pattern. If you're looking for a nice countertop for your kitchen, you might check out that design. I found it at Rainbow Stone up by Miramar, North San Diego. What else would I like to plug? Mission Bay Aquatic Center, and also my Substack, drclutch.substack.com. And I know it's been a while since I posted. I will get back at it in a moment. With that, Mojo, what do you got to plug?
All right. I'd like to plug this show. I'd like to plug our guest. Thank you so much for being on their show today. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. I'd like to plug Clutch. I'd like to plug the two in our audience, Lawrence of the Netherlands, another podcaster that you can find out there. South Osman. Yeah, they might be making an appearance, and he's another podcaster that's been around for a while. To all those that showed, and to all those that stayed, and to all those that will listen in later on, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Having to start over is hard, but we will soldier on. Yes. You can find me on Substack under Mojo the Mad. You can find me on Facebook under Mojo the Mad, and Instagram under the show of Dark Matters Podcast and Mojo the Mad, where you can see my art. You can find me on SoundCloud under Mojo the Mad and the Drama Llama Ding Dongs, or on Reverb Nation under the band Giria. I'm everywhere. You can find me here and there. I'm everywhere and nowhere. But you can mostly find me here every 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. This has been a really good show today, and it was good. You are our first interview, my friend. Thank you for coming on here. Great honor.
Yes, thank you.
And I hope you'd come again. And always positive energy. And this was like a deep show. Thank you for giving me a deep show, sir. I really appreciate that. I am truly honored. And honored also to call you friend too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I like to go deep.
Yeah,
awesome.
You did go deep. You went deep, sir. Deep.
Yes.
All right. So everyone have a good week. No matter how scary it gets, everything is just for a little while. That's Philip K. Dick. Enjoy it. Learn how to navigate it. Right? Don't let them control you. Don't live in fear. Because you never know, you might need to use those your mind. You might need to see between the lines. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and take us out. You have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you.
Okay. Oops. Didn't do it. Okay. Background
didn't do
sound. Didn't do it. Hold on a second.
Oh, now you muted yourself. In a moment, ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear our outro music.
Outro music coming up. Yeah, outro video. There we go. It's not letting me do it. Okay. Well, anyway, good night.
Can't we